you lay down, and your mind went somewhere you never agreed to follow. There is a moment, deep in the night, when the dreaming brain quietly switches a light back on, and suddenly, you know you are dreaming. For most of the night, the part of you that knows who you are is switched off, so dreams feel normal while they happen. Welcome to Sleepy Science. Tonight we follow that returning light back to its source in the sleeping brain, to the exact place where knowing wakes up inside a dream. Let the racing settle. Somewhere behind your eyes, a quiet watcher is already stirring, waiting to notice, without effort, that none of this is solid. Let us begin where every dream begins, in the strange country of sleep itself. Tonight begins with a single quiet question. What is it in the brain that lets you suddenly realize, in the middle of a dream, that you are dreaming? Most nights, you do not. You wander through impossible places and accept them completely, as if nothing could be strange. But sometimes, without warning, a kind of knowing switches on. You notice the impossible detail. You sense that the world around you is made of sleep. Scientists call this a lucid dream, a dream in which you are aware that you are dreaming, and are sometimes able to shape it. It is one of the rare doorways where the sleeping mind and the waking mind meet in the same moment. And it all turns on that first flicker of recognition. To understand where that flicker comes from, we begin with the stage of sleep where dreams grow most vivid. In 1953, two researchers at the University of Chicago, Eugene Aserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman, noticed something odd. Beneath closed eyelids, their sleepers' eyes were darting rapidly back and forth, in gentle bursts. When they woke people during these bursts, the sleepers described detailed, story-like dreams. They had found what we now call rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep. It arrives in cycles through the night, returning roughly every 90 minutes, and each visit grows longer toward morning. This is the soft ground where lucid dreaming almost always takes root, and where our question quietly waits. During REM sleep, the brain does something that once puzzled scientists deeply. Its electrical activity begins to look almost exactly like the activity of a waking mind. The slow, rolling waves of deep sleep give way to fast, low, rippling patterns, the signature of an alert brain. Yet the body lies utterly still. This is the great paradox of REM. A mind that appears awake, resting inside a body that cannot move. Early researchers called it paradoxical sleep for exactly this reason. Somewhere inside that lively electrical storm, your dreams are being painted. And somewhere in that same storm, on certain nights, the quiet awareness of lucidity will learn how to rise. The stage is set, though the actors have not yet arrived. The stillness of the sleeping body is not an accident. It is carefully arranged by the brain. Deep in the brainstem, in a region of the pons, small clusters of cells send a steady signal downward during REM sleep. That signal quietly switches off the ordinary commands that move your muscles. The result is a natural paralysis, gentle and complete, called REM atonia. It keeps you from physically acting out the adventures your mind is inventing. Without it, you might run, or reach, or leap while still asleep. So the body waits, soft and heavy, while the mind travels. This same paralysis, as we will see, leaves one small door unlocked, and that door will matter greatly to our story. The dreaming brain also runs on a different chemistry than the waking brain. As you slip into REM, one messenger rises while two others fall. Acetylcholine, the chemical linked to vivid imagery and internal focus, floods the sleeping brain and helps paint the dream. Meanwhile, two messengers of daytime clarity, noradrenaline and serotonin, quietly withdraw almost entirely. These are the chemicals that normally keep you sharp, self-aware, and grounded in reality. With them dialed down, the dream feels seamless, and reflection grows difficult. Remember this balance gently, because the whole mystery of lucidity may live in a small, unexpected shift within it. When a little of that daytime chemistry returns, something inside the dream begins to wake. Now we reach the heart of the old understanding. During ordinary REM sleep, the front of your brain goes quiet. The prefrontal cortex, the broad region behind your forehead, is the part that plans, judges, reflects, and asks whether something makes sense. In waking life, it never truly rests. But in a normal dream, its activity drops steeply. Brain imaging in the late 1990s revealed this clearly. While dreams blaze with emotion and imagery, the thoughtful, questioning front of the brain is largely offline. This is why dreams feel so convincing from the inside. The voice that would say, "Wait, this cannot be real," has stepped away for the night. And in its absence, the impossible feels perfectly ordinary. Within that quiet frontal region sits a specific area that matters most to our question. It is called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a name we can simply hold as the seat of self-monitoring. This is the part of you that watches your own thoughts, checks your reasoning, and notices when something is off. In waking life, it is the inner supervisor, calm and constant. During normal REM sleep, it grows especially quiet, more deactivated than almost any other thinking region. So the supervisor is off duty. No one is checking the dream against reality. This single fact, this sleeping supervisor, is the shadow at the center of tonight's mystery, and the place where lucidity will eventually switch a light back on. This explains one of the strangest features of dreams. Their bizarreness feels normal. In a dream, you might speak with someone long gone, walk through a wall, or watch a room quietly change shape, and feel no alarm at all. You accept it. The reason is simple. The brain region that would normally raise an objection is resting. There is no reality check running in the background. No quiet comparison between what you see and what is possible. Waking thought constantly measures the world against expectation. Dreaming thought, for most of the night, does not. So the mind drifts through impossibility without friction, believing everything it is shown. The critic is asleep, and belief is effortless, complete, and untroubled. Another piece of the old picture is memory. In ordinary dreams, working memory, the mind's small holding space for recent thoughts, runs faint and thin. This is why a dream can shift scenes completely, and you rarely notice the seam. You forget where you just were. You lose the thread of intention. You cannot easily hold the thought, "A moment ago, I was somewhere else. So this must be a dream." Without that thread, self-reflection has nothing to stand on. Recognizing a dream requires remembering, just for an instant, what waking life is like, and comparing. In most REM sleep, that comparison never forms. The mind lives entirely in the present image, with no yesterday to measure against. Given all this quiet machinery, the wonder is that lucidity happens at all. Yet humans have noticed it for a very long time. The modern name, lucid dream. He was given in 1913 by a Dutch psychiatrist and writer named Frederik van Eeden. He used the word lucid to mean clear, mentally awake, aware. He had kept careful records of his own dreams for years and described nights when he knew, fully and calmly, that he was dreaming while it happened. He wrote of reasoning inside the dream, of acting with intention. In naming it, he gave scientists something to study, and gave the rest of us a word for a strange and quiet gift the sleeping mind occasionally offers. But the experience itself is far older than its name. More than 2,000 years ago, Aristotle noticed that sometimes, during sleep, something in us seems to declare that what we are seeing is only a dream. In the mountains of Tibet, a contemplative tradition called dream yoga developed over many centuries, training practitioners to remain aware within dreams as a path of insight. Across cultures and ages, people have quietly stumbled into this doorway and tried to understand it. What changed in modern times was not the experience, but our ability to measure it. The awareness had always been there, waiting in the dark. Science simply learned, at last, how to catch it in the act. One early explorer deserves a gentle mention. In 1867, a French nobleman named the Marquis de Saint-Denis published a book on dreams and how to guide them. For decades, he had recorded his own, teaching himself to become aware inside them and even to influence their unfolding. He believed dreaming was a skill that could be cultivated with patient attention. His careful notebooks anticipated much of what laboratories would confirm a century later. He worked alone, without instruments, guided only by curiosity and discipline. It is a quiet reminder that some doorways in the mind were mapped long before we had machines to see them, by people willing to pay close, gentle attention to their own nights. Still, For a long time, science could not take lucid dreaming seriously, and the reason was reasonable. How could anyone prove it, a person waking to say, "I knew I was dreaming," might simply be misremembering. Perhaps the awareness formed only in the blur of waking, and memory painted it backward into the dream. Dreams are private, wordless, and gone by morning. There seemed no way to reach inside a sleeping mind and confirm that awareness was truly present in the moment. This is the wall that blocked the field for years. The experience felt real to those who had it, yet remained invisible to everyone else. What was needed was a message sent from inside the dream itself. The solution came from that one unlocked door we noticed earlier. Remember the paralysis of REM sleep, how the body lies still while the mind is active. That paralysis is nearly complete, but not perfect. A few muscles remain free, and among them are the muscles that move the eyes. In a dream, when you look around, your sleeping eyes often move too. This gave researchers a quiet idea. If a dreamer could agree, before sleep, to make a specific pattern of eye movements upon becoming lucid, then those movements could be recorded from outside. The dream could, in effect, send a signal across the border. The mind could knock on the door from within. So the experiment was run, and it worked. In the late 1970s in England, Keith Hearn recorded such a signal, and soon after, at Stanford University, Stephen LaBerge did the same and brought the method to the world. A dreamer, wired to instruments that tracked eye movement and brain waves, agreed to look left, right, left, right upon realizing they were dreaming. Deep in verified REM sleep, the recording pens swung in exactly that pattern, at exactly the agreed time. It was a message sent from inside a dream, arriving in the waking world, clear and undeniable. For the first time, lucid dreaming stepped out of anecdote and became something science could hold in its hands. That single deliberate signal changed everything. Suddenly, lucid dreaming was no longer a private claim, but a laboratory event, with a precise moment marked on a chart. Researchers could now ask what the brain was doing in the seconds around that signal. They could compare a lucid dream to an ordinary one, minute by minute, wave by wave. The eye signal became a kind of timestamp, a flag planted in the landscape of sleep that said, "Awareness arrived here." Everything we now know about the neuroscience of lucidity rests on this quiet foundation. A dreamer, glancing side to side in the dark, had opened a window. And through it, science finally began to watch the light come on. With that window open, the first clear pattern was about timing. Lucid dreams arise almost entirely during REM sleep, and rarely in the other stages. And within the night, they favor the later hours. Your REM periods are short early on, then stretch longer as morning approaches. By the final cycles before dawn, REM can last half an hour or more, rich and deep and long. It is in these late, generous stretches that awareness most often finds room to rise. This is why lucid dreams so often come in the soft hours near waking. The dream simply lasts long enough and grows intense enough for a flicker of knowing to catch and hold. Researchers noticed something finer still within REM itself. REM sleep is not uniform. It pulses between quieter passages and bursts of intense activity, marked by clusters of rapid eye movements. These active bursts are called phasic REM, and they carry the most vivid, energetic dreaming. It is during these charged moments that lucidity tends to ignite. The dream reaches a certain brightness, a certain intensity, and in that heightened state, awareness is more likely to break through. It is as if the flicker of recognition needs a strong enough flame to catch. The calmer stretches rarely spark it. Lucidity favors the dream at its most alive, its most electric, its most fully awake within sleep. Here is a small, beautiful detail that ties the dream to the body. When lucid dreamers were asked to slowly track a moving object within their dream, their sleeping eyes moved smoothly to follow it, in a way waking eyes can only do with a real target. When they looked left in the dream, their physical eyes drifted left. The dream and the body were quietly synchronized. This supports what researchers call the scanning idea, that in REM, the eyes often move as if looking at the dream itself. It means the dream is not only a story in the mind, it reaches out, faintly, into the muscles, leaving traces we can measure in the dark. The eyes were only the first messenger. Researchers soon found that breathing, too, remains partly under a dreamer's control. A lucid dreamer could agree to take a series of quick, deliberate breaths upon becoming aware, and those breaths would appear on the recording. Some studies even ask dreamers to hold their breath inside the dream, and the sleeping body obliged. This opened a richer conversation across the border of sleep. With eye movements and breath together, dreamers could send small, structured signals, almost a simple code, from within the dream. Each channel was another thread connecting the inner world to the outer one, another quiet proof that the aware mind, even while dreaming, could still reach the waking world. You may wonder how common all of this is. More common than most people expect. When researchers gathered decades of surveys together in a large review published in 2016, a clear picture emerged. Around 55% of people report having had at least one lucid dream in their lives. And roughly a quarter of people say they have them about once a month or more. So this is not a rare gift held by a chosen few. It is a natural capacity, woven quietly into the human mind, available in some measure to most of us. You may have already crossed this threshold yourself, on some half-remembered night, when the dream turned clear for a moment before slipping away. The capacity is not spread evenly across a lifetime. Lucid dreaming appears to be most common in childhood and adolescence, then gradually becomes less frequent with age. Young minds, it seems, slip into awareness within dreams more readily. Researchers are still gently exploring why. Some point to the way the frontal regions of the brain, the very regions tied to self-reflection, are still developing and reorganizing through youth. Others suspect that children simply dream more intensely and question reality more freely, both awake and asleep. Whatever the cause, it hints that lucidity is tied to how the thinking brain matures. The doorway may stand more open in the young and settle quietly as the years accumulate. One group stands out as unusually prone to lucidity: people who play a great deal of immersive video games. Studies have found that frequent gamers report more lucid dreams and greater control within them. The proposed reason is quietly fascinating. Gaming trains the mind to inhabit an artificial world while staying aware that it is artificial, to act with intention inside a space that is not real. That is nearly the exact skill lucid dreaming requires. The mind, it seems, can rehearse awareness within illusion. And here the question of tonight begins to shift beneath us. Perhaps lucidity is not a random accident of sleep, but something closer to a trainable capacity of a self-aware mind. It also helps to know that lucidity is not simply on or off. It arrives in degrees, along a gentle spectrum. At the faintest edge, a dreamer might feel a vague suspicion that something is unreal, without acting on it. Deeper in, they know clearly they are dreaming, yet remain swept along by the story. Deeper still, they think clearly, remember their waking intentions, and choose their actions with calm command. Full lucidity gathers several abilities at once: recognition, reasoning, memory, and control. Each may appear alone or together. This spectrum matters because it suggests lucidity is built from separate parts of awareness switching back on. Honor be honor, rather than a single lamp flicking cleanly to life. So gather what these first stretches have shown. We began by asking what makes us suddenly know we are dreaming. And we have found that ordinary dreaming is a state of quiet belief, built on a sleeping supervisor, faded memory, and withdrawn chemistry of clarity. Lucidity, then, is not something added from outside. It is something waking back up from within, a set of thinking powers returning to a mind that had let them rest. The question has quietly turned. We are no longer only asking what makes awareness appear, but what, inside the sleeping brain, briefly comes back online to allow it. That returning is where the next part of our journey begins. The stories so far have moved softly, and more are waiting just ahead. Perhaps this quiet space brings you some comfort, and a gentle subscribe helps another restless mind find its way here too. Now, let us breathe together, one sleepy soul at a time. You just heard that awareness in a dream is not a single lamp, but many small powers switching back on. Recognition, memory, reasoning, one at a time. Something like it may be moving in you right now, in the way your thoughts have begun to loosen their grip. The question we opened is starting to turn. Maybe knowing you were dreaming was never forced upon the mind. but something the mind quietly remembers how to do. Notice how your breath has slowed without any instruction from you. The part that watches has softened, and yet it is still faintly there. The next stretch follows that gentle returning toward the place where the light comes back on. Once the eye signal gave science a timestamp, a natural experiment became possible. Researchers could record a dreamer's brain during ordinary REM. Then, during the moments awareness arrived, and simply compare the two. What changes in the sleeping brain at the instant a dream turns lucid? For years, this was hard to capture. Because lucid dreams are brief and unpredictable, and the machines that watch the brain most closely are demanding. But patiently, in small numbers of gifted, lucid dreamers, it was done. And the picture that emerged was strikingly consistent. At the moment of lucidity, the quiet front of the brain, the region that had gone dark, began to glow again. The clearest look came in 2012, from a team led by Martin Dressler in Germany. Working with rare dreamers who could become lucid on cue and signal the exact moment, they combined two ways of watching the brain at once. When they lined up ordinary REM against the lucid moments, specific regions lit up only during lucidity. These were not scattered or random. They were the very regions tied to self-awareness and reflection, waking from their nightly rest. It was, in a sense, the first photograph of a mind becoming aware inside its own dream. The sleeping supervisor, absent all night, had quietly returned to its post. Chief among those waking regions was the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-monitoring we met earlier. In normal REM, it lies especially quiet. But in the lucid moment, its activity climbed back toward waking levels. This is the supervisor switching its light on. And its return explains so much of what lucidity brings. Suddenly, there is someone checking the dream against reality. Someone able to notice the impossible and name it. The very part that steps away to let ordinary dreams feel real is the part whose return makes lucidity possible. Awareness in a dream, it turns out, has an address in the brain, and this is very near its door. Beside it, another frontal region joined the awakening. At the very front of the brain sits an area involved in the most reflective kind of thought, the ability to think about your own thinking. Scientists call this metacognition, awareness of awareness itself. This forward region, active when you judge your own certainty or examine your own mind, brightened during lucidity as well. This matters because becoming lucid is exactly an act of metacognition. You are not just seeing the dream. You are noticing your own state within it, thinking about your thinking. So the brain region built for that reflection is precisely the one that stirs when the dream turns clear. Deeper toward the center of the brain, another area rejoined the pattern. The precuneus, a region tucked between the two hemispheres. The precuneus is strongly tied to the sense of self, to viewing yourself as a distinct being with a point of view. It helps build the quiet feeling of being someone, located somewhere, looking out. During ordinary dreaming, this self-sense grows loose and porous. But in lucidity, it firms up again, and the precuneus reactivates alongside the frontal regions. So lucidity is not only knowing that the dream is a dream, it is also a return of the knower, the self who does the noticing, gathering itself back into focus. The parietal regions, toward the top and back of the brain, also brightened. These areas help you sense your body and space, track where you are, and feel that your actions are your own. Near where the parietal and temporal lobes meet lies a zone deeply involved in the sense of agency, the feeling that you are the author of what you do. When this network reactivates in a lucid dream, control becomes possible. The dreamer can decide to fly, to turn, to speak with intention, and feel that the choice is truly theirs. Agency, like awareness, has quietly come back online, restoring the sense of a self that acts rather than merely watches. Notice the pattern forming. Every region that reawakens during lucidity is one of the regions that goes quiet during ordinary REM. The frontal supervisor, the reflective forward pole, the self-centered precuneus, the agency-rich parietal zone. These are precisely the areas dreaming normally silences. Lucidity is their homecoming. It is not a new state layered on top of dreaming, but the partial return of the waking brain's own network of self-awareness, switched back on inside sleep. The dream keeps running, vivid as ever. But now the mind that had stepped out has stepped back in. The lights that dimmed at the start of the night have begun, in this one region and then another, to rise. Brainwaves tell the same story in a different language. In 2009, a team led by Ursula Voss studied the electrical rhythms of lucid dreams and found a distinctive increase in very fast activity, near 40 cycles per second. A band called gamma. This fast rhythm, strongest over the front of the brain, is linked to alert, integrated, conscious thought. Ordinary REM sleep shows much less of it in these frontal regions. But as a dream turned lucid, this fast frontal rhythm rose. It was as if the sleeping brain shifted a gear toward wakefulness, right there in the front, without ever leaving the dream. The rhythm of awareness had quietly returned. There was more to the waves than speed. The lucid brain also showed greater coherence, meaning distant regions began pulsing in step with one another, coordinating their activity. In waking life, this kind of long-range teamwork helps bind separate pieces of experience into one unified, self-aware moment. Ordinary dreaming is more fragmented, its regions working in looser isolation, which may be part of why dreams feel disjointed and strange. In lucidity, the front of the brain seemed to reach out and synchronize with regions further back, knitting the experience together the way a waking mind does. The dream became not just vivid, but integrated, gathered into a single clear field of awareness. From all this, a single idea began to crystallize, and it is the quiet center of our answer. A lucid dream is a hybrid state. It carries the features of REM sleep, the vivid imagery, the muscle stillness, the internal storytelling, and at the same time the features of waking, the frontal activity, the self-reflection, the fast, integrated rhythm. Two states of mind that almost never overlap are, for a few minutes, present together. You are asleep and aware at once. This is why lucidity feels so uncanny and so precious. It is a genuine meeting of two worlds inside one skull. A mind resting and waking in the very same breath. Scientists sometimes call this a dissociated state, meaning the usual bundle of features that define sleep and waking has come partly apart, and then recombined in a new way. Normally, awareness and dreaming stay in separate rooms. When you are aware, you are awake. When you dream, awareness fades. Lucidity breaks that tidy rule. It lets a piece of waking consciousness slip into the room of the dream and switch on the light without waking the sleeper. Many of the mind's most curious states, from sleep paralysis to certain deep experiences, arise this way, when the ingredients of consciousness separate and reassemble unexpectedly. Lucidity may be the gentlest and most wondrous of them all. One study made the meeting of the two worlds beautifully concrete. Researchers asked lucid dreamers to clench a dream hand, left, then right, while their brains were scanned. Remarkably, the region that controls hand movement lit up in the same pattern it would if the hand had truly moved, on the matching side of the brain. The body lay paralyzed. The hand never stirred. Yet the brain's movement map responded as though the action were real. The dreamed gesture and the waking gesture shared the same neural ground. It was direct evidence that a lucid dreamer's intentions run through the same machinery as waking ones, quietly proving the mind was genuinely, deliberately at work. So here is the shape of what has been found. During a lucid dream, the brain does not wake up, and it does not sleep like an ordinary dreamer. It does something rarer. Parts of it re-enter the waking mode, the reflective front, the self-aware center, the integrated fast rhythm, while the rest stays fully in the dream. It is a partial awakening that never crosses into waking. The sleeper remains asleep. The dream keeps flowing, and yet a clear, quiet awareness now moves through it. This is the delicate balance our whole question has been circling, and we are nearly close enough now to name it plainly. This is also why lucidity feels, from the inside, like waking up inside a dream. That phrase is not just poetry. It is almost literally what is happening in the brain. The subjective sense of suddenly becoming clear, of the mind sharpening while the dream continues, mirrors the real return of waking-type activity in the frontal and central regions. When people describe the moment of lucidity, they often say it felt like a veil lifting, like coming to. They are describing, in ordinary words, the reactivation that the instruments record in the dark. The feeling and the brain event are two faces of the same quiet homecoming, one witnessed from within, one from without. Let this settle into a clearer shape. We asked what makes us suddenly know we are dreaming. And the evidence now points to a single kind of event. It is not an addition, not a spark from nowhere. It is a return. The self-aware network of the waking brain coming partly back online without ending sleep. The change is a homecoming, not a new arrival. And the closer we look, the more it seems this returning is not entirely outside our reach. If it is the waking mind's own network switching back on, then perhaps the mind can learn, gently, to leave that light within reach. That possibility is where we turn next. The night is still soft around you, and your curiosity has not fully rested yet. That is perfectly all right. Take one slow breath and feel the weight of your body settling into the bed, like something heavy finally allowed to be still. We are wandering together through the quiet country of the sleeping mind, in no hurry, following the light wherever it leads. There is nowhere we need to arrive, and we will keep going, slowly. If lucidity is the waking mind's self-aware network switching back on inside sleep, then a quiet prediction follows. People who become lucid often might have something different about that network even while awake. Their daytime brains might be shaped, in small ways, by the same capacity that lets them wake within a dream. This is exactly the kind of idea science loves, because it can be tested. You can gather people who lucid dream frequently, and people who rarely do, and simply look at their waking brains and waking minds. If the two groups differ in the right regions, the story grows stronger. And when researchers looked, they found precisely that. In 2015, a team including Elisa Filovich studied frequent lucid dreamers and compared them with people who seldom become lucid. Two differences stood out. First, the frequent lucid dreamers had more grey matter in the forward pole of the prefrontal cortex, the region tied to reflecting on your own mind. Second, they performed better on a waking test of metacognition, a task measuring how accurately you can judge your own thoughts and decisions. The two findings pointed the same way. The very brain region richer in lucid dreamers is the region of self-reflection, and they were measurably better at reflecting on themselves. Lucidity, it seems, is written faintly into the waking brain. This reveals a deep and simple link. The ability to become aware inside a dream appears to be tied to the ability to be aware of your own mind while awake. They may be two expressions of a single underlying skill: metacognition, the mind turning to observe itself. When you notice you are anxious, or catch yourself in a mistaken assumption, or sense that a memory might be unreliable, you are using this skill. Lucid dreaming is that same skill, reaching into the night. The dreamer who suddenly thinks, "This is a dream," is doing in sleep exactly what the reflective mind does by day. The doorway to lucidity and the doorway to self-knowledge may be the same door. There is a specific version of this skill that matters most here. Scientists call it reality monitoring, the mind's quiet ability to tell whether an experience comes from the outside world or from within. Right now, You can tell that these words are real sound, not imagination. That judgment runs constantly, mostly beneath notice, and it leans on the same frontal regions we have been tracing. A lucid dream is, in a sense, reality monitoring succeeding inside sleep. The mind correctly labels the dream as internally made. Ordinary dreaming is that same monitor switched off, so everything feels external and real. Lucidity is the monitor coming back, gently sorting inner from outer once more. This reframes lucid dreaming entirely. It is not a strange exception to how the mind works, but an extension of one of the mind's most ordinary daytime tasks into an unusual place. Every waking hour, you distinguish thought from perception, memory from present, imagination from fact. Lucidity is that same sorting, carried across the border into REM. Seen this way, the mystery softens into something almost familiar. The sleeping mind is not doing something alien when it becomes lucid. It is doing something you do all day, in a room where it is usually not done at all. The wonder is not that it happens, but that it can happen there at all. And if lucidity is an extension of a waking skill, then a hopeful implication appears. Skills can be strengthened. Metacognition is not fixed at birth. It grows with attention, with practice, with the gentle habit of noticing your own mind. This is why lucid dreaming can be cultivated. Why people who could not do it can gradually learn. They are not forcing a rare magic. They are training the same reflective capacity that lucidity depends on, until it becomes strong enough to run even in sleep. The frontal light that switches on inside the dream can be coaxed, slowly, to return more often. The doorway, it turns out, responds to patient practice. Consider the simplest of these practices, not as instruction, but as a window onto the mechanism. Some people build the habit, while awake, of gently pausing to ask whether they might be dreaming, and truly checking. Repeated often enough, this reflective pause becomes automatic, woven into the mind's daily rhythm. And what runs by day tends to echo by night. The same self-checking habit can surface inside a dream, and there, where the world is impossible, the check finally comes back true. This is why the practice works. It is not a trick played on sleep. It is a waking reflex, trained so deeply that it fires even when the supervisor has stepped away. There is another quiet ingredient: the ability to hold an intention across the border of sleep. Scientists call it prospective memory, remembering to do something later. A person hoping to become lucid might hold, as they fall asleep, the calm intention to notice the next dream. To carry that intention into REM and act on it requires memory to survive the crossing. The very memory that ordinarily fades in dreams. Frequent lucid dreamers tend to be better at this too, at keeping a thread of purpose intact through the night. So lucidity gathers several returning powers at once: reflection, reality monitoring, and a memory that refuses to let go of its intention. At the center of it all sits a single, luminous event, the moment of insight. It is the instant the dream tips from accepted to recognized, when the mind suddenly sees its own situation clearly. This is the true heart of lucidity. More than control, more than flying or shaping the dream. It is the flash of knowing itself. And that flash is a frontal event, the reflective brain seizing on some crack in the dream, some impossible detail, and drawing the correct conclusion at last. Everything before it is ordinary dreaming. Everything after it is lucid. In between is one quiet spark of awareness, arriving in the dark, changing the night completely. So let us stand at this turning and look back honestly. We asked what makes us know we are dreaming, and the answer has been steadily reshaping the question itself. If lucidity is simply our own waking self-awareness switching back on inside sleep, then the wall between the aware waking mind and the unaware dreaming one is far thinner than it seemed. The same watcher lives on both sides. And that raises a quieter, stranger question, the one the rest of the night will follow. If that watcher can appear or vanish while the dream goes on unchanged, then what exactly is this awareness that comes and goes and where? In all of it, are you? What just opened is not only a question about sleep. If the watcher can arrive and slip away while everything continues, then something you take to be solid, the steady sense of being you, is quietly coming and going. You may feel that right now, the way your sense of yourself has grown soft and wide. Present one moment, nearly dissolved the next. That looseness is not something going wrong. It is the same coming and going the dreaming brain performs every night. Notice your breath, needing no watcher to continue. Feel your body grow heavier against the bed. The second half of tonight leans into the gentle truth that awareness is not a wall, but a tide. Return for a moment to the chemistry of the dreaming brain. Recall that in REM, acetylcholine rises to paint the dream, while the daytime messengers of clarity, noradrenaline and serotonin, fall almost silent. This chemical balance is much of why ordinary dreams feel seamless and unquestioned. Lucidity may begin with a small shift in that balance, a faint return of the clarity chemistry into the vivid cholinergic dream. Not enough to wake you, only enough to let the reflective front of the brain stir. A whisper of daytime, folded into the depths of night. The dream stays, but a thread of waking chemistry rejoins it. Think of it as two dials, gently turning. One dial, the cholinergic one, holds the dream bright and immersive. The other, the clarity dial, sits near zero through most of REM. In lucidity, that second dial seems to lift a little, without silencing the first. This is why a lucid dream keeps its dreamlike wonder even as awareness returns. You do not wake into a plain grey room. You remain in the vivid, impossible world, but now with a clear mind moving through it. The genius of the state is this coexistence. brightness and clarity together. Two dials that almost never share the same setting. This chemical idea has been gently tested. In a careful study, researchers gave some sleepers a compound that raises acetylcholine activity, the same messenger that fuels REM, and found that lucid dreams became noticeably more likely. Strengthening the very chemistry of vivid dreaming seemed to open the door to awareness within it. The finding fits the larger picture. Lucidity does not require leaving the dream state. It seems to grow, in part, from intensifying it, from making REM richer and more active, until the reflective mind has enough to notice. The path to clarity, strangely, ran deeper into the dream, not away from it. There is a simple, well-known method that works for a related reason. If a person wakes briefly in the early morning, stays up a short while, then returns to sleep, lucid dreams become far more common in that final stretch. The reason is quietly elegant. The brief waking nudges the reflective front of the brain partway online. When the sleeper falls back into the long morning REM, some of that frontal alertness lingers, riding into the dream. The supervisor is already half awake as the dream begins. It is a way of carrying a little daytime clarity across the threshold and letting it stay. Step back and picture the whole lucid brain at once. It is running two modes in parallel, without either cancelling the other. The executive front operates in something close to waking mode, reflecting, judging, choosing. Meanwhile, the sensory and emotional depths run in full dream mode, generating a vivid, self-made world. Ordinarily, these two modes never share a moment. Waking silences the dream generator. Dreaming silences the executive. Lucidity is the rare state where both run together. A mind divided cleanly between two ways of being, cooperating in the dark. You are, quite literally, of two minds at once, and both are yours. This is why lucid dreams stay dreamlike. The parts of the brain that build the dream world, the visual regions, the scene makers, the emotional centers, do not switch off when awareness arrives. They keep working in dream mode. So the lucid dreamer still sees rich landscapes, still feels the pull of dream logic tugging at the edges, still moves through a world with its own strange momentum. Awareness does not dissolve the dream. It simply adds a watcher to it. The scenery keeps painting itself, unbothered, while a clear mind stands within it and quietly knows the truth of where it is. The emotional brain, in particular, stays alive. Deep centers that color experience with feeling remain active in REM, and they do not fall silent in lucidity. This is why lucid dreams can carry powerful emotion, joy, awe, sometimes fear, alongside their clarity. Awareness and feeling are not opposites here. A lucid dreamer can be fully aware that a moment is imagined and still be moved by it, still feel wonder wash through them at a dream sky or a dream sea. The heart of the dream keeps beating. Lucidity does not cool it. It only lets a clear mind witness the warmth as it happens. There is a broad web of regions, active when the mind turns inward, that scientists call the default network. It hums during daydreams, memory, and imagining, and it is deeply involved in dreaming and in the sense of self. In lucidity, this inward network appears to work in concert with the reawakened frontal control, rather than running unchecked as it does in ordinary dreams. The result is inner experience with a hand on the wheel, imagination that a reflective mind can observe and gently steer. The dreaming self and the watching self, usually strangers, find themselves working the same night together. Near where the temporal and parietal lobes meet lies a region tied to the feeling of being located in a body and to telling self from other. Disturbances there, while awake, can produce the eerie sense of leaving one's body. In dreams, this same region's shifting activity may shape how firmly you feel placed inside your dream self. In lucidity, as it rejoins the network of self-awareness, the sense of being a located, embodied observer can sharpen or drift. It is part of why lucid dreams can feel so vividly inhabited, and occasionally so strangely spacious, as if the self had room to move within itself. Control, though, is only ever partial, and this too makes sense. The reflective front returns, but it does not seize full command of a brain still largely in dream mode. The dream keeps its own current. A lucid dreamer may intend one thing and watch the dream drift toward another, may reach for control and feel it slip. This is not failure. It is the honest signature of a hybrid state, where waking will and dreaming momentum share the same space. The watcher can steer, but gently, the way one guides a small boat on a moving river, present and aware, yet never fully the river's master. Now to the field's most striking and most debated frontier. In 2014, Ursula Voss and colleagues tried something bold. As sleepers lay in REM, they applied a very mild electrical rhythm to the front of the scalp, tuned to the fast gamma range tied to awareness. In their report, this stimulation nudged some ordinary dreams toward lucidity, as if the missing frontal rhythm had been supplied from outside. If true, it would mean lucidity can be switched on directly, by restoring the very frequency the lucid brain generates on its own. It was a remarkable claim, and it deserves to be held with real care. That care matters, so let us be honest about it. This stimulation finding is experimental and contested. Later attempts to reproduce it have given mixed and uncertain results, and scientists continue to debate whether the effect is reliable or how it truly works. It is best understood not as settled fact, but as an intriguing, unproven frontier, a hint that the frontal rhythm of awareness might be encouraged, still awaiting firmer proof. We include it because it captures something real about the search itself. The science of lucidity is young, alive, and still arguing gently with itself in the dark. which is exactly how living science should sound. Even with all this analysis, one quality of the lucid dream resists reduction. It's sheer sensory realism. A lucid dream can feel more vivid than waking life. Colors deeper, air clearer, the world impossibly present. This intensity comes from the dream-generating regions running at full strength, unfiltered by the outside senses. With no real room around it, the brain's inner theater plays without rival. And now, in lucidity, a fully aware mind is present to witness it. That may be the strangest gift of the state. To stand clear-eyed inside a world you know is made of mind, and find it breathtakingly real all the same. Time inside a lucid dream behaves more faithfully than you might expect. In careful studies, lucid dreamers agreed to count out a stretch of seconds and mark its start and end with eye signals. The measured intervals matched real clock time surprisingly well. Dream time, it seems, is not wildly stretched or compressed, but flows at roughly the pace of waking. This quiet finding tells us something. The lucid mind is not adrift in a formless haze. It keeps a steady inner rhythm, close to the one it keeps by day. Even here, in the depths of sleep, the aware mind carries its own faithful sense of passing time. Memory partly rejoins the dreamer too. In ordinary dreams, waking life feels distant and unreachable, its facts forgotten. But in lucidity, dreamers can often recall who they are, remember plans they made before sleep, even hold in mind an intention to test or explore. A thread of waking memory has been rethreaded through the dream. This is why a lucid dreamer can carry out a purpose formed hours earlier, in another state of mind entirely. The memory that ordinarily dissolves at the border of sleep has, for a while, been allowed to cross. And with it comes continuity, the sense of oneself, persisting from the day into the night. Yet the crossing is never complete. Waking memory does not fully return in lucidity. Recall stays partial, sometimes hazy, more a narrow bandwidth than an open channel. Dreamers may remember their name and intention, yet forget the finer texture of their day. This partialness is the whole truth of the hybrid state. Nothing about lucidity is total. Awareness is partial. Control is partial. Memory is partial. It is a state built from fragments of waking, folded into sleep, never the whole of either. And in that incompleteness lies its delicacy, a balance too fine to fully hold, which is why it so often slips away. People differ, quietly and measurably, in how easily they reach this state. Some slip into lucidity often, with little effort, while others rarely touch it even trying. Part of that difference appears written into the structure of the reflective front of the brain, and into how strongly the network of self-awareness can rouse itself during sleep. It is not a matter of willpower or worth. It is closer to a natural variation, like differences in balance or pitch. Everyone carries the machinery. In some, it is more easily switched on, in the way some minds slip more readily into any form of quiet, inward attention. The young, as we saw, live nearer this doorway. Through childhood and adolescence, the reflective front of the brain is still forming, still reorganizing itself toward its adult shape. During those years, lucid dreams come more often. It is a gentle clue that lucidity and the maturing of self-awareness grow together, two branches of the same developing tree. As the brain settles into adulthood, the doorway does not close, but it may open a little less freely on its own. The capacity remains, waiting, needing perhaps a touch more intention to rouse. What comes naturally to a child becomes, for many adults, a quiet skill to rediscover. Lift back to see the largest picture. Consciousness is not a single switch, on or off. It is a landscape of states, from dreamless, deep sleep, through ordinary dreaming, to full alert waking, with quiet territories in between. Lucidity is one of those in-between lands, sitting partway between the dream and the waking day. It shows us that awareness can be present in degrees, dialed up or down region by region, rather than simply present or absent. The mind is not one lamp, but many, each able to brighten or dim on its own. Lucidity is the night when several of them, unexpectedly, come back on together. Lucidity has quiet cousins, other states born when the ingredients of consciousness come apart and recombine. There is sleep paralysis, where the mind wakes but the body's REM stillness lingers, leaving you awake and unable to move. There are the vivid images that hover at the edge of sleep. Each of these, like lucidity, is a hybrid, a mismatch between the usual partners of sleep and waking. Together they form a family of states that reveal a hidden truth. The pieces of consciousness are separable. What feels like one seamless experience is really many parts, usually moving in step, occasionally stepping out of line, and showing us their seams. One cousin sits especially close. The false awakening. Here you dream that you have woken up. You seem to rise, begin your morning, move through an ordinary room, all while still asleep. It is a near miss of lucidity, the dream imitating waking so well that awareness is almost fooled into arriving. Sometimes a false awakening tips over into a true lucid dream, when some small wrongness in the scene finally trips the reflective check. It shows how narrow the gap can be. The mind stands right at the threshold of knowing, needing only one more crack of clarity, one more returning light, to see the dream for what it is. Those who practice quiet attention tend to live nearer this doorway too. People with a steady mindfulness or meditation practice report more lucid dreams than others. The reason echoes everything we have traced. Such practice is, at heart, the daily training of metacognition, of watching one's own mind without being swept away. That trained watcher does not vanish at nightfall. It carries into sleep, more ready to notice, more likely to recognize the dream. The stillness cultivated by day becomes a lantern for the night. It is a gentle symmetry. The same inward attention that calms a restless mind awake can also, quietly, wake awareness within a dream. This carries a tender promise for those troubled by their nights. For people caught in recurring nightmares, learning to become lucid can change everything, letting them recognize the nightmare as a dream and rob it of its power. Studies exploring this as a gentle therapy have shown encouraging early results, though researchers are careful, and it is not a cure for all. Still, the possibility is quietly moving. The same returning awareness we have been tracing might let a frightened sleeper stand within the fear and know it cannot truly harm them. To wake within the dream is, sometimes, to be freed inside it. Notice what lucidity has been teaching all along about awareness itself. It shows that consciousness is not one indivisible thing you either have or lack. It is assembled, piece by piece, from separate capacities: reflection, self-sense, memory, agency, each with its own place in the brain, each able to come or go. In deep sleep, they rest. In dreaming, most sleep on while imagery runs free. In lucidity, several quietly return. And in waking, they gather fully. The self you feel to be seamless is really a nightly negotiation among many parts. Lucidity simply lets you glimpse the negotiation in progress, the mind assembling itself in the dark. So here, at last, is the whole answer spoken plainly. A lucid dream is born when the self-aware network of the waking brain, the reflective front, the metacognitive pole, the self-sensing center, unexpectedly switches back on in the middle of REM sleep, without ending the dream. It is a genuine hybrid, half waking, half dreaming, the two states that almost never meet, briefly sharing one mind. That is where lucid dreams come from. Not from outside the dream, and not from waking, but from the quiet return of your own awareness inside sleep. The watcher was never gone for good. It was only resting, and some nights, it wakes. You may be feeling the pull of sleep now. The awareness we have been following runs entirely on its own, the way the tide returns to shore without being called, needing nothing from you. Something has been gathering all night toward one quiet idea: that the watcher within you was never truly lost, only resting, free to return. You do not have to keep it awake. You do not have to hold anything at all. Let the reflective mind soften and let go, trusting that it knows how to come and go on its own. What we have been circling is very close now, and you can meet it without effort, simply by letting yourself drift. Think of the dream as a river that flows whether or not anyone is watching it. All night, it moves through you, carrying its images downstream. Most nights, no one stands on the bank. Then, on certain nights, a quiet watcher appears at the water's edge and simply notices the current. Nothing about the river changes. Only now. It is seen. Lucidity is that watcher arriving, gentle and unannounced, at the edge of your own sleeping mind. And here is the tender truth of it. You are both. You are the river and the one who watches it. The dreamer who is swept along and the awareness that sometimes wakes within the sweeping are not two people. They are one mind, meeting itself in the dark. There is no stranger inside you. When lucidity comes, it is only you, remembering how to notice you. The light that switches on inside a lucid dream does not come from somewhere else. It is not borrowed from the waking day or lent by the world outside. It was always yours, resting within the sleeping brain, waiting. When it returns home. Nothing new enters you in that moment. Something quietly familiar simply wakes. You do not gain awareness. You remember it. Every single night, without your trying. Your mind rehearses this coming and going. Awareness dims as you fall asleep, vanishes in the deep, flickers strangely through dreams, and gathers again at dawn. You have crossed these borders thousands of times. Lucidity is only one of the crossings made visible. The traffic between waking and sleeping is constant, ancien, and entirely ordinary. You are, in truth, always arriving and departing from yourself. Lucidity shows that a mind can hold two truths at once. This is a dream, and this feels real. I am asleep, and I am aware. These seem to contradict, yet in the lucid dream they rest side by side, untroubled. Perhaps that is the quiet lesson. You do not always have to choose between being carried and being awake. Sometimes, gently, you can be both. The watcher, when it comes, is not forceful. It does not seize the dream or wrestle it into order. It simply notices, softly, without alarm. This is worth remembering. Here in the dark, where you may have arrived wishing to seize your own restless mind and hold it still. Awareness does not work by force. It works by noticing. The gentlest attention is the most awake. And control, it turns out, was never the true gift. The dreamers who chase only command, who want to bend every dream to their will, often miss the deeper thing. The heart of lucidity is not power over the dream. It is presence within it. To be here, clearly, kindly, awake to your own experience. Presence was always the point. Control was only ever a small, passing part of it. To know you are dreaming is a small and real freedom. In that knowing, the frightening loses its grip. The impossible becomes play, and the mind rests inside its own creation without fear. It is a freedom that asks for nothing but recognition. And it hints at a larger one, available even by day. That simply seeing your situation clearly, without struggle, is already a kind of release. Awareness itself is the freedom. The border between waking and dreaming is far softer than it seems. We imagine a hard wall between the day and the night, between the real and the imagined. But lucidity shows the wall is more like mist. Awareness drifts across it. Memory slips through. The same watcher lives on both sides. You are not one person by day and another by night. You are a single, continuous mind, moving through many rooms. Maybe the self is not a fixed thing at all, but a returning. Not a stone that simply is, but a tide that comes and goes and comes again. Each morning, you gather back into yourself. Each night, you loosen and disperse. Lucidity catches you mid-tide, aware while still dispersed. And it whispers that this coming and going is not a flaw in you. It is simply what a self is. You do not have to grasp your mind to belong to it. Tonight, you may have wished to seize your thoughts, to hold your dreams still, to finally be in charge. But the aware mind does not clutch. It rests. It notices. It lets the current move. You already belong to your own mind, fully, whether you are steering it or being carried by it. Belonging was never something you had to earn by control. Even on the nights awareness never comes, the dream was always yours. The unremembered dreams, the ones you drifted through unaware, were no less your own creation. Every impossible city, every familiar face, every strange, soft sky, all painted by your sleeping mind, for no one but you. Lucidity only lets you sign your name to what was already yours. The authorship was never in question, only the noticing. Awareness returns on its own schedule, not on command. You cannot force the watcher to wake, only invite it, and then let go. Some nights it comes early, some nights not at all, and the letting go is itself the practice. There is a deep rest in this, in trusting that what wants to wake will wake, in its own time. You do not have to manage the mind. You can simply allow it. The racing mind you carried here tonight is the very same mind that can grow still. They are not two different minds, one broken and one calm. The restlessness and the quiet are two weathers of a single sky. If awareness can return inside a dream, then stillness can return inside a restless night. The mind that spins is also the mind that settles. You are not waiting for a different mind. This one already knows how. The supervisor rests so the dream can run free. That nightly quieting of the reflective front is not a malfunction. It is a gift, a nightly permission to let go of judgment, planning, and worry, and simply create. There is wisdom in a brain that knows when to stop watching. Tonight, you can borrow that wisdom. You can let the watcher soften and trust the deeper mind to carry you, exactly as it does every night. Some nights the light returns, and some nights it rests, and both are whole. A dream without awareness is not a lesser dream. A night without lucidity is not a night wasted. The mind knows what it needs. Sometimes it needs to witness itself, and sometimes it needs only to dissolve and be carried. You do not have to make tonight extraordinary. You only have to let it be what it will be. Lucidity's quiet teaching is that letting go and awareness are not enemies. You can release your grip and still be present. You can surrender to sleep and still, somewhere, softly, know. The mind does not have to choose between vanishing and staying awake. It can loosen and witness at once. This is perhaps the gentlest thing the sleeping brain reveals. That presence does not require holding on, and rest does not require disappearing. You are allowed to be carried and still be yourself. The river of the dream will take you where it goes, and you can let it, without losing anything of yourself. Being carried is not being erased, even swept fully into sleep. Unaware, you remain, whole and held. The night does not take you from yourself. It only lets you rest from the effort of holding on. You can safely stop holding now. The dream does not need your control to hold you gently. It will build its worlds, keep its own time, and carry you through the night whether or not you steer. There is a deep safety in this, in a mind that cares for you while you sleep, asking nothing. You can lay down the wish to command it. The dreaming brain has kept you through every night of your life. It will keep you through this one. The very mind that wonders where dreams come from is the dream's own light, turned back upon itself. To ask the question is already to be a little awake. And you have spent this whole hour asking, gently, with a curious and softening mind. That curiosity is not separate from the awareness we have traced. It is the same light. You have been, in your own quiet way, lucid all along. To wake within a dream is a small homecoming, and so is this. Coming back to your own breath, your own weight, your own quiet presence in the dark, is its own soft return. You do not need a dream to practice it. Right now, awareness rests lightly within you, aware of the stillness, at ease. You are home in your own mind, needing nothing, going nowhere, simply here. The night asks nothing of you now. It does not require you to become lucid, to remember, to try, or to understand. It offers only rest, freely, on no condition. Whether awareness finds you in a dream tonight or lets you drift untouched, the night holds you the same. There is nothing left to do. The asking is over. Only the resting remains, wide and soft and open. You can steer gently, or you can simply drift, and both belong to you. There is no right way to enter sleep. Some nights you will wake within a dream and wander it with quiet wonder. Some nights you will pour yourself entirely into the dark and remember nothing. Neither is better. Both are yours. Tonight, let yourself choose nothing, and let the choosing be made for you by the tide. Whatever comes, the watcher and the dreamer are one, and that one is you. There is no part of the night that is not yours, no state of mind that is foreign, no dream too strange to belong. The awareness that reads these words and the sleep that is rising to meet you are the same continuous life. You are not divided. You are whole, in waking and in dreaming, in noticing and in letting go. So where do lucid dreams come from? We can answer. Now, past all the science, they come from you, from the quiet light of your own awareness, which was never truly extinguished, only resting, and free to return. The true answer is not a region of the brain. It is that you were never only swept along. Some part of you was always there, gentle and awake, waiting in the dark. And tonight, whether it wakes or rests, you can trust it. The watcher is you. It is coming home. The night began with a question about a flicker of knowing, and it ends with something quieter than an answer. We started by watching sleepers' eyes dart in the dark, and learned how a dreamer once sent a message across the border by simply looking left and right. We followed the reflective front of the brain from its nightly rest to its sudden homecoming, and even watched a dreamed hand light up the mind as if it had truly moved. What began as a puzzle about a distant brain region became something closer to home. The discovery that the awareness in question was yours all along. The place where lucid dreams come from is not somewhere far away. It is the quiet light you carry into sleep every night, able to rest and able to return. You leave tonight knowing that the watcher and the dreamer were never two. If following the origin of your own dreams has brought some quiet to your restless mind tonight, a gentle like, subscribe, or share helps another overthinking soul find this same stillness in the dark. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. Somewhere in you right now, the dreaming brain is already beginning to paint. Softly, without instruction, asking nothing of you. The same mind that spent this hour wondering is loosening its hold, letting the images rise on their own. Let your whole being dissolve into that gentle current, into the river that flows whether or not anyone watches. The watcher can rest now. The dreamer can carry you. There was never a wall between them, and there is nothing left for you to hold. You can let these thoughts fade now, like a dream slipping softly past the edge of memory. Let your body grow heavy and still. If sleep comes, let it take you into the part of the mind that needs no watching. The Relaxing Dream Science Facts playlist has spent many hours in this quiet country, where sleep and awareness meet. The next hour follows the part of tonight's question we did not have time to finish. What the sleeping mind is still doing in the dark, long after the watching stops. That hour is waiting whenever you are ready. But if your eyes are closed, stay there. Rest well, quiet one. The light that knows you will return on its own, where curiosity ends and sleep begins. Good night.